Okay, anybody else on when have you felt the most rested?
I think it's when Richard and I read scripture together and have prayer time, and we've had so much more time to do that. And it's just been really a blessing just doing that together.
For me, it's outside. If I can get outside and sit or walk, that's when I feel the most peaceful, most restful.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I resonate with that. When we did the Sacred Pathways, I'm definitely the outdoors person. That's where I meet with God. And so whether it was, when we were in Florida, just sitting on the beach or just being outside was really, really nice. And even like yesterday, we took a long walk in the inn, and it's just nice to be outside. And
yeah.
So another question I had was, is there any of us on the Bible study here that you're looking at this quarantine and being like, actually, I think this is pretty great, like having to slow everything down and just be home? Anybody that's actually liking the quarantine part of things? Nancy?
I do.
A little bit, yeah.
As long as when you're in that little thought, but then once you start thinking of the ones that are struggling, then it kind of goes away. But I like the calmness.
Yes, it's not too bad. I have Billy, so I have to keep finding things to entertain him because he's kind of down with it, not seeing his friends at work and not being able.
Oh, that'd be hard.
He keeps saying, "I miss my friends," so that's hard. Yeah.
Yeah, Killian multiple times has been like, I want to go outside. I want to play with friends. I want to play with friends. Because we've got neighbors directly across from us that have a little girl and a little boy close to his age, and he sees them out there playing, and he's like, I just want to go play with friends.
Yeah, he doesn't understand. Yes.
Yeah. So it's tough. I would imagine most of us at our ages know that rest is really important. And even from a biblical standpoint, it's even commanded in the Bible that we rest. We started off this study yesterday talking about how God is our shepherd who provides for our needs. And today's study is going to continue to look at that idea as Matt Chandler, who's the author of this study, talks about how the shepherd leads us into rest. Like, what does it mean that a shepherd leads the sheep into rest? What is that role? What does that mean? He talked a little bit about that in the video. But now I just want us to read real quick. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, just made sure since I shared my screen here. Going to read again, just right through Psalm 23. It says, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. So most of us have heard that psalm at different times in our life, many, many times. Probably if you've been in the church for any period of time, you've heard Psalm 23. You've seen it on tons of things. We watched, all of us now have seen session 2. And it says, while God is sovereign, all-knowing, and all-powerful, he is also a shepherd who cares for his sheep. When we belong to his flock, we enjoy his tender protection, and the ultimate goal is to find all that we long for in him. Because Jesus is God, we see this attribute of God expressed through the earthly life of our Savior. He is the good shepherd, and his sheep follow his voice. But that brings us to an important question we have to consider. Where is Jesus leading us? I want you to take a minute and just reflect, if you were part of yesterday's session, and just ask, did God speak anything to you? Have you identified any ways in which you find yourself in want in your life? And where are you struggling to agree with David in saying, I shall not want, from that first verse? Even if you weren't part of the study yesterday, you can answer those questions if you have an answer.
I'm normally a pretty unworried person, I would say. And I feel like right now I'm in a roller coaster. Like, I'll be fine, and I can, look at the numbers. I'm an accountant by trade, and see that everything's fine, everything's paid. And then that thought comes in my mind of, well, Rick hasn't got an unemployment check yet. So that worry starts to creep up again. I feel like I'm having trouble evening out. Like, I keep just going up and down.
Anybody else, anywhere you find yourself in want, or where you want God to show up and help you to feel like you're no longer in want, that you can agree with David, yeah, I have everything I want. Not even just everything I need, but everything I want in Jesus.
Well, sometimes my wants aren't always just for myself. Maybe for my family or kids, or, I'm always praying for salvation for my family and my children. That's probably my biggest want.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like when I want to see positive change in someone else, and I feel like I've just been praying for it for so long, and it just can be discouraging sometimes. I know God provides for all of my needs, and provides things I don't even think I need sometimes, but he knows what we need and what we don't. But it's kind of harder with the wants, and trying to get your wants and God's wants to align and
Right,
being
right.
in his will. It's
Right.
kind of like, so why is this a bad thing? I don't understand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's interesting, like even what Donna, hit on there, is sometimes we can feel like, well, for us, we're good, but we're like almost, and I'm not saying that Donna, you feel this way, but I know myself, I have felt like I'm okay, like I'm good, I've got everything I want, but God, I'm not totally satisfied with the way you've provided for other people in my life. Like, I want my brothers and my mom to know Jesus, and it's like, what are you doing, God? Like, come on, man. Like, I've been praying about this for a while. Like, do it. And trying, for me, like, that's where I'm at with that. Is like, I just need to be satisfied with God's plan for their life as well, and also knowing that they have to want it as well. I can't make them want Jesus, and God can't make them want him. So just kind of sitting back and saying, okay, God, I know you got this under control,
Mm-hmm.
and just to be restful and peaceful about it.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So in kind of a praise report type way, how have you seen God provide for you over the last 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever that looks like? Any cool stories of how God's provided or just been there, shown up some way?
Well, we've had Debbie and Mike get us groceries. They bring us our food and leave it on the porch. And because Richard and Billy have a lot of compromising health issues, so we don't go anywhere. But they've been so kind to go get our groceries and bring them, and we just thank the Lord for that.
That's great.
Well, I know for myself, it doesn't really have anything to do with the situation with the virus, but the Lord knows how I fret over my children, and they're life situations. And my son's young and sometimes wants to do it on his own and doesn't do life skills very much. Like I was telling Sally, like paying for your car insurance and doing taxes or whatever. And so I guess this week, I think sometimes God just puts things, helps me by, I don't know, he clears my mind of things. And in this situation, in this past weekend, my son, like, he paid for his car insurance, he got inspected, got the oil changed, paid his taxes, and I'm like, thank you, Jesus. I can sleep, I go to bed. It wakes me up at night sometimes worrying about stupid things, and it's not about me, it's about him. And just to have that peace, that was just such a cool weekend, because all this peace just came because he was taking care of things. Well, no, kind of silly, but that's what it is for me.
I don't think it's silly at all. I think it's reassuring to know that, if necessary, they can do it.
Yep.
I feel like, like I said, I look at my numbers sometimes too much. But every time it's like God just makes sure there's enough there. And he's been like this my whole life. I mean, not just, through this. We've never been, I don't want to use financially stable. We're stable, but we've never been flourishing, I guess would be the word. But he's always, I'm always able to pay the bills. I'm always able to feed my children. He always provides.
Yeah, I'm just thankful for God's provision, like, just being able to find the things that we need. Even at the grocery store, there's been so many things out, and I'm just like, every time I've had to go to get us food, there's been enough there for us to get, and I'm just thankful for that provision. And yeah.
They're kind of going along with what Sherry just said. Like when we were down in Florida, my cousin and I, we went out to the grocery store that was right by the house that we were staying at. And right at that time that we decided to go, we just stopped in the toilet paper aisle where it was all usually cleared out. And there was a stock room, worker, and she had a box of toilet paper, and she just said, hey, how many do you need? And my cousin was like, well, we could take one. She's like, if you need more, you could take more. And it's like right at that moment that we happened to be there. And again, something so little is still like God's hand, doing what he's going to do and, providing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Jackie and I have experienced some significant blessings over the last 2 weeks. I mean, just with our whole vacation getting scrapped, and both of us really looking forward to this vacation, both really needing it, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, just needing that break, and having that taken away from us was like, trying not to be too upset, knowing that we're tremendously blessed that we even get to go on a vacation in the first place, but then also like, well, we need to get away. And then having this house offered to us for free for an entire week. And we got to go down there. And then, even on top of that, just blessings with that. And then today, somebody else in the church decided to bless us. And it's just, I'm looking at it like, this is amazing. And God is just so good to us. And I also was talking to another pastor friend of mine today, and he was saying how, which I didn't know, in this stimulus package, if it gets passed, churches are included in the stimulus package.
Yeah, I heard that today.
It passed the House today. It did pass.
Oh, it did pass. Okay,
It
so
passed the House. So Trump just
Yeah.
has to sign it, and he's expected to sign it.
cool. And yeah, so then like our church could take advantage of some things if we do find ourselves in a predicament financially. I know giving has been down significantly.
Sure.
Every pastor I've talked to, I think the best that some of the pastors are doing is 50% of their normal tithe. And we're not anywhere close to that as a church. So, it's going to be a rough couple months coming back
So
from
much
this.
unemployment, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to see tithing numbers like we saw them before because people are not going to have jobs. So even that was like, okay, God, you're still, blessing churches. You're still going to, continue pushing forward the ministry of churches. So that was cool seeing that. Is there any way, you don't have to try to come up with something if you don't have it, but it asks here on the study guide, how have you followed his voice? And so kind of what I'm asking is there a way that God has like spoken something to you and you followed in obedience in something in the past week, 2 weeks, something that you didn't expect yourself to do, but God spoke it and you said, okay, God, I'll do it.
Well, I have one. So another sister-in-law is in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and she works in an elderly care facility. And with the whole coronavirus thing, she needs someone to watch her 3 children. And she asked Keith and I if we would take them in temporarily. And at first I was like really just kind of in shock about that and just like, oh, wow, that's a big ask. And I don't know if we can do that. And I was freaking out about it. But then I just felt like God saying to me, like, well, that's what you need to do right now. And that's what I want you to do. And then he also provided my other sister-in-law and her friend that are here, and they're willing to help take care of the kids with me. And so that's like a huge blessing. And so I just feel like he orchestrated the whole thing, and it still might be challenging. And I don't know how long the kids are going to be here. Right now, they're potentially coming on Thursday. So.
How old are they?
They're, the oldest is 9, and then 7 and 6, I believe. Just get them. 2 girls and a boy. So, yeah. So
Camp Thornton.
Yeah, Camp Thornton. It's our bed and breakfast, boarding house, whatever you want to call it. But yeah. So that's like, I'm like, okay, I guess this is happening.
Well, if they need interaction at all, feel free to FaceTime me or Facebook Messenger chat, because I have a 10 and 7-year-old. So, and they love to do that. They'll play Barbies with them on the phone or whatever.
Nice.
Well, I have one I haven't followed through with yet, but the Lord definitely was speaking to me this week because I was negative attitude all over the place, because I have this lady that comes to me on Mondays and she is just miserable in her thinking, her everything. Talk about a downer. She is definitely a downer. I could just say, go away. And God just really slammed me and just said, that's why she's here. That's why she's here. So she'll be in here Monday again. So I'm really praying that God will soften my heart, give me the words, look for opportunities of what to say to her, and that she'll receive it. So you can be praying for that, but I haven't followed through, but he has spoken to me.
We'll have to remember to keep Donna accountable.
Yep. Yep. We all complain, we all have our stuff, but just think of the worst, and that's her.
So over the next couple days, which we're going to pick up with session 3 on Monday. We won't do a session tomorrow, so we'll pick up session 3 on Monday. We're going to consider where our Good Shepherd is leading us as we walk with him in faith. This week, today, we're going to take a look at one of the specific destinations, and I would argue maybe one of the ones that believers in our culture struggle with the most, which is rest. As a culture, we are really not good at rest. I don't know about you, but when I'm resting, I often feel guilty of being lazy, of being complacent when I try to rest, because our cultures kind of go, 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 and sometimes it can be hard to do that. But in verse 2 of Psalm 23, it says, he makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. So, question for you, what are some images that come to mind when you think about rest? And what does rest look like for you? Because it's not going to look the same for all of us. So, what are some images that come to mind when you think about rest? And what does rest look like for you?
Rest for me is being out in the sun without any other agenda. Just to be out there and soaking up the rays, the warmth, the hearing the birds, and that's it.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, I just kind of think of sitting on a beach with a book and just in the sun, relaxing, not having any agenda, just being able to sit there undisturbed with my toes in the sand and listen to the waves and, immerse myself in this book.
I like that too.
Anybody else? What does rest look like for you? What images come to mind?
A bench or a rock outside that I can sit on and just smell the fresh air, maybe feel the breeze if there is one, listen to the sounds of the leaves or the animals walking around, sitting in a tree stand.
Sounds nice.
Yeah, for me, it's being outside, and the ultimate rest for me is being outside with a book, just sitting reading somewhere outdoors where I'll take a break from reading and just sit and listen to nature for a bit and then back into my book and, back and forth that way. I really enjoy that. That's rest for me. So, what grade, A to F, would you give your ability to rest at this stage in your life? How good are you at resting? A to F.
I gave myself a B-.
Okay.
I would say a B probably for myself. I really try to make an effort to get out in the sun as soon as I can, as much as I can.
I think I'd give myself an A.
I would give you an A.
Yeah, we have the country here, and we feel like when we sit out on the porch and just enjoy nature that we're like camping all the time. It's really nice. And we have, and at our age, we're able to do that.
Yeah. Good. Sherry, what grade do you give yourself?
I don't know. I'm not sure. I would say probably a B. Like I don't know if it's resting as much as it is. I guess I kind of feel guilty sometimes, like you, like as much as I feel like, oh, I'm just wasting time. If I'm not doing something, like, I don't know, I feel like I'm just like wasting time, but there's plenty of times that I am resting, I guess. So I would say, I guess it'd be.
I guess I
Okay.
said, I wrote down B plus. I think it falls more where I am in life because I look at all the ups and downs of where I've been from the time, 20s, 30s, 40s, and the worries and all of that has calmed down. I mean, I talk about a little bit about my kids, but it's nothing like it was. And I had personal things within my own self, like, deaths and jobs and, and it just seems like the older you get, or I have gotten, I have found more peace and contentment, and I guess just God teaching how to rest, how to be okay.
Jackie, did you answer?
Yeah, I said I gave myself a B.
Okay. Yeah, I gave myself an A minus. I don't know if you know what day is my Sabbath day, but I hold to it pretty religiously, which can be hard to do, especially as a pastor. And everybody thinks I should be at everything. And so having to say no when it comes to my day, or I don't know why, but I get more phone calls. Even if I change the day off that I take that week, I get the most phone calls on my Sabbath day. But I don't answer the phone. I don't do anything except try to do activities that give me a break. And I'm shocked at how many pastors I talk to that aren't taking that seriously. And so sometimes, when I have this conversation with peers, pastors, whether that's at like district conference or things, and they say, "Oh yeah, I haven't taken a day off in a month." It's like, what? Like, how do you function? And I don't think when you may disagree with this, but whenever you see me, I would doubt you've seen me in a really stressed out situation or demeanor, because I don't generally feel very stressed out. I try to rest often. I try to, using the Sacred Pathways information, I try to do things that I know are healthy rest that actually minister to me, not just occupy me. I forget what book that was that talked about that. Don't do things that just occupy you. Do things that nourish you and help you and restore you. So sometimes I do like to just be distracted, but I do think I rest pretty well. As Matt pointed out in the session, God invites us to follow him out of drought and weariness and into spaces of rest. It's a perpetual invitation because our need for rest ebbs and flows throughout life, kind of like what Donna was talking about. There are definitely times in our life where we need more rest. We need to focus and put more effort into resting. And like Sally is saying, for her, rest just kind of comes naturally. It's just sitting on the porch and enjoying some time there. And but it will always remain a need this side of heaven. We will always need to focus on rest. Even if it does come naturally, there may be seasons where we say, you know what, I got to take a step back and I need to rest. So where do you find yourself facing weariness, and what causes that exhaustion for you? Because for each of us, it's going to be different. So where do you find yourself facing weariness, and what causes the exhaustion of that weariness?
My schedule usually causes me weariness. And even, if you look at the calendar, there's not a ton on there, but on a normal basis, not right now, but I do have people in my life that need things during the week and call and, pull on me, pull me away from, being home and finding those times of rest and just being able to be unhurried. So I get I get weary just in my day to day, and I'll take tips if anybody's got them, because I haven't figured out how to say no to things that that people really need, and haven't figured out a way to fulfill that need in different ways other than me.
It's tough.
Anybody else? Where are you finding your weariness at?
Raising a 2.5-year-old, doing the same thing over and over again. But I love him.
I remember that.
The discipline part of it, I guess.
Yeah. Same when they're 7, 10, 15. A little easier with the 19-year-old.
25, 28. How about it, Sally? You're what? They're 40.
40, 50. Yes.
It's just doesn't go
Today I
away.
got screamed in my face a couple times, and it just gets old. But oh
Yeah,
well.
he has realized that screaming at her drives her up the wall. So when she yells at him, he just screams.
I don't even yell at him. I just said, don't mess with the outlet covers. I don't want you to get hurt.
Electrocuted.
And he screamed in my face, and then we had to go sit in timeout.
That's what you do.
And he wouldn't go
Over
in
and over
timeout.
and
He
over.
ran in the other direction, and then I had to give him a spank.
Yeah.
It's just,
That's right.
it's a vicious cycle with him.
Life with a 2.5-year-old.
That's right. That's the way it works. Round and around.
Then Bruce came down and reprimanded him about screaming at Mama. So at least I have somebody on my side.
But like Nancy, I think sometimes my weariness is when I worry about other people and their stuff. And God, I lose sleep over family or friends.
Yes, I think so too, Donna. Like the weariness of, even with my son now, who's an alcoholic, but he's in recovery. And just that, worrying and being concerned about him, and asking the Lord to send some Christian in that place to really bring him back to God.
Yeah.
Every day, that's our prayer. He's been there now. Let's see, this is Friday, 9 days. So he has a ways to go, but that wears on our hearts and our minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good he's getting help now, though. That's the first step.
Yeah, I praise God for that. I do.
I know
guess
for
for
me, go ahead, Sherry.
Okay. I was just going to say, for me, I just wondering and I guess worrying about are certain circumstances ever going to change for me? Are certain people ever going to change? And, how's the Lord going to work? And am I going to miss what he wants me to do or not do? I guess I just get, instead of resting in him and his promises and just trusting his timing and his plan, I get, anxious and bogged down sometimes and worrying about is anything ever going to change? Is it ever going to be the way I want it to be? Instead of just, trying to rest in where God has me now and try to focus on what he wants me to do now.
Right.
Yeah, my answer to that one is I try not to say this laughingly, but people, they're my weariness and exhaustion. I can sit.
Maybe
I
the
can
wrong
sit
business.
I know, right? Well, trust me, God and I had that conversation. I'm like, Lord, if you're looking for a shepherd, you're not talking to the right guy. And I can sit and plan, I can sit and build strategies and processes and stuff all day long, and then have one conversation with somebody who's just not getting it. And it's like, God, why? Why do you have to give me people who don't get it, or who don't seem to want to get it? And like, that'll exhaust me, just a few minutes of that. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I know for me, it's what causes that is like, I can't control that. I
Right.
can control processes. I can control, excellence on my end, but I can't control it. I can't make people want more of Jesus, and that frustrates me, that I can't do that. So, I want to read John 10:7-10 real quick here. Okay. It says, so Jesus again said to them, truly, truly, I say to you, I am the door of the sheep. All who come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not listen to them. I am the door. If anyone enters by me, he will be saved and will go in and out and find pasture. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. So according to verse 9 there, what are the two benefits of following Jesus based off of verse 9?
Be saved and find peace.
Yes, yeah, that find pasture.
Or find pasture, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Find peace is a great way to put that. Is there any other imagery you get from that find pasture for you? Other than, like Sherry said, peace, nourishment?
Comfort.
Relief.
Well, to me, it's like, he says, and will be saved, but then it's not even just salvation, like, which would be enough of a gift, but he gives us even more than salvation. And that's just like awesome to me.
Yeah, I think it's pretty powerful. I mean, I think there's a lot of imagery that can go into that, and I don't know if you have a different version and open in front of you or anything, but just that idea of finding pasture, and there's safety in that as well. Like a shepherd knows where it's safe to release the sheep out, to be nourished. And like, a pasture doesn't have hard and fast fences all the time. Sometimes it's just a general area, but that idea that, not only are we saved, but yeah, he loves us more than just a get out of hell free card. It's, he wants to give us this abundant life. Like, there's so much to life that he wants to give to us.
Well, and the in and out there kind of gives me the sense of freedom. In that verse, he says, and they go in and out and find pasture. It's like, so like a freedom he gives us. And kind of makes me think of freedom there a little bit.
Yeah.
Vacation. The pasture is vacation.
On your all study guide, do you see the go deeper part?
Yeah.
Nancy's saying yes. Okay, so
Yes.
I'm gonna encourage you to do the go deeper part on your own, because we're running out of time here. What it says right after there is, true rest begins with the peace we receive through faith in Jesus Christ. But that doesn't change the fact that we still live in a world that is frenetically busy. Our to-do lists are never finished. I mean, I think for a lot of us, how many of you feel like, if I could just get my house clean, then I would be happy. I could rest once my house was clean. And you realize, oh, it never stays that way for more than 30 seconds. And then it's all of a sudden destroyed again. And so if that's how we base like good rest, is finishing tasks like that, it never ends. The to-do list never ends. Those of you that own homes, like, there's never an end of like, oh, okay, good, we're finished. We never have to do anything again. It's like, There's just always a list, always a list, always a list. There's always more work to be done, and if the finish line is our target for rest, then we will never truly reach it. Rest happens through surrender to Jesus Christ in the midst of the to-do list, trusting that he is enough, and that this rest is more than merely external. And it encourages us to take a look at verse 3, the first part of verse 3 there. It says, he restores my soul. I don't know about you, but there are times where I'll try to go to sleep and I'm still like spinning things in my head, and I can't go to sleep because I can't stop thinking about things that are going on in my life and things that I need to do and things that I've left undone. And Jackie can tell you, there have been times where it's like, you know what? I can't sleep until I go finish this. I have to go finish this project. I have to go finish this thing. And if I was truly trusting in Christ for rest, I would just be able to say, you know what? Today, I used the time wisely that I had. I did my best that I could with the time that I had, and I'll pick that up tomorrow. And just trusting God that he's given me enough time in every day. Instead, I'm sacrificing my energy tomorrow because I'm not going to get enough sleep to finish a project today, because it's like, I want to have control of this. I want to do it on my timetable. But let's skip that question. Do you have the dust off the Hebrew section on your study guide? Yeah, okay. So I just want to leave you kind of with that last question. What do you need? And you don't have to answer this. If you have something, you can shout it out, but what do you need to surrender to the Lord today? What is keeping you from following his voice to green pastures, to still waters, and the restoration of your soul? And I challenge you to reflect on that thought. What is it that you're still holding on to, even if it's a good thing? Like I said, some of us can get anxious about the salvation of people in our life, and the enemy might convince us, well, that's a good thing. You're allowed to be anxious about that. You're allowed to lose sleep over that. And I think God is saying, that's a good thing, but that doesn't mean that you can do unhealthy things for a good thing. That doesn't make it healthy. And so I just challenge you to think about that. What is it that you have to give up? Does anybody have anything they want to share? Or?
I think, like he said, the sheep know the shepherd's voice. And so many times in worrisome times of my life and heartache, I'll hear like a message or something pulling me down or making me worry. And within moments of a thought, God's voice comes in, and it's the voice you do know as truth. And I know, like with my kids, just worrying about them, I hear God say back to me, just let me have them. Just let me have them. They got to go do life. It'll come. It'll come. And then I shake it off, and I'm like, okay, you got it. And it's a letting go and letting him do it, and not trying, because as you young moms, you still have control. You can still give the spankings, and and once they get to my kids' age and Sally's age, we can't say nothing anymore. They don't even want to hear what you want to say. Sometimes you can't give a spanking, and so you just have to let God do it, and it's that letting go.
Yeah, so I've been reading a book to try and help me to lay it down to Jesus, and I would recommend it highly. It's called can you guys see that? When I Lay My Isaac Down. When I Lay My Isaac Down.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really good book, and it helps. It's talking about, laying these things down to Jesus, and really going through what God asked Abraham to do when he laid Isaac down, literally. And it's a story about a woman. Donna, you might find it helpful because her grown son ended up in prison for first-degree murder, and there was nothing she could do about it. And she had to lay her son down to the Lord and just So it's partially, you know, her and her husband, like her family's story, and then how they handled that and responded to that in their relationship with God. And then she really intertwines the story of Abraham and Isaac being there as well. There's so many powerful things in this book, and it's really there's a lot of things I didn't want to read because I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that, God. But I would recommend it, especially if you're, you know, trying to release loved ones and children over to the Lord. It's been helpful.
Carol, what?
When I Lay My Isaac Down
The
by
author,
Carol Kent.
Kent.
Carol Kent. So.
Yeah, so I'll close this today, and just with that challenge of whether it's anxiety over the coronavirus situation, whether it's anxiety over family members, anxiety over finances, whatever it is, ask God, you know, what is my green pasture? What are my still waters? What does that look like for me? What do I need for my soul to be restored? Because it's not going to be the same for everybody. Some of you, like Sherry, thank you for that awesome suggestion. That may minister tremendously to some of you, and some of you might be like, I didn't get anything from that. And we can feel guilty that we're not ministered to in the same way that somebody else is, but that's not what God wants for us. And I just want to encourage you with that your still waters might not be somebody else's. You know, your still waters might be somebody else's anxiety waters. You know, to sit still in a room by yourself might be great for you, but it might drive somebody else crazy. Or to sit outside, you might think it's great, but to them, they get bit by one bug and they're so mad they even went outside in the first place, kind of thing. So don't feel like just because somebody else is ministered to in a certain way that you have to, or you're less spiritually mature because you're not ministered by God in that way. So figure out whatever that looks like for you and enjoy that. If you are somebody who struggles with being ministered to and you don't know how to connect well with God, I encourage you to pick up that book, Sacred Pathways, that we did a sermon series from. I think it's a tremendous book. I think it helps people to understand how they connect with Him, with God, and what does it look like, their spiritual walk, and how they are ministered to. So that's my recommendation, whether you're a reader or not, because I'm not a reader, but get through it. It's good. Again, try to memorize the scriptures, this Psalm 23, as we're walking through it. Try to have, by Monday, try to have Psalm 1 and 2 memorized. And then the prayer section for today is spend at least 5 minutes in prayer every day this week, specifically confessing to the Lord the places where you have found yourself in need of rest as a result of this session. So if God puts something on your mind, don't let the enemy convince you it's okay to just brush it off and ignore it. That's God trying to speak something to you, maybe a blind spot that you have, and saying, you need rest here. You need to lay this down for a season, maybe, for forever, maybe, whatever that looks like, and you need to be restored. Your soul needs restored in that aspect, or in that place. And the encouraged part of it is, if you are currently in a season of enjoying rest in the Lord, look for someone in your life who is struggling and make an intentional effort to encourage them with the truths you learned from this session. So we can probably all, in a second, name somebody we know of that's dealing with a lot of anxiety right now, especially with the situation we find ourselves in. And maybe there's somebody God's saying, hey, why don't you reach out to them? And again, my encouragement, don't push your pathways on them. So for you, you may feel ministered to by somebody calling you and spending 20 minutes in prayer, but that might not be maybe for them. So understand how they're ministered to, and try to minister to them in a way that speaks their language of peace and of restoration. So that's my encouragement. Any thoughts, concerns, closing remarks as we finish here?
It's good.
Awesome. Again, encourage you, invite somebody else out to the Bible study that doesn't know how to do it. I think it's a cool tool that we're starting to use. I am available to, when I am available, I'm more than happy to do a test session with somebody. If they're like, well, I don't know how to use it and I'm not confident with the software, I will set up a meeting and we'll do a test run with them if they feel uncomfortable with it. Anybody can call into this as well. They don't have to do a video conference. They can just call and listen and engage in conversation whenever they want. So they don't have to do a video. So just try to spread the word and get other people on this, because I'd love to see more people jumping in, and we can do more than one Bible study as well. If that's something that people want. If they want to do a different Bible study or discussion or prayer group, we can do all of that through this software. So
Okay.
cool.
Nice.
Thanks.
See.
All right.
So,
Good. Thanks,
Monday,
Bruce.
right? We're not doing this again until Monday, correct?
We will not be doing the Bible study again till Monday.
Okay.
If you're not a Facebook person, but you would want to see the sermon, we're going to use Zoom to do that on Sunday. So
I can just do Facebook, right?
yeah,
either way.
we're gonna Zoom the service via Facebook or Zoom the service. So you'll be
Is
able
it
to
just
watch.
the sermon?
Yes, because there won't be any other part of the service. Like we're not going to have a worship team or anything like that.
Okay.
I'm actually going to pre-record the sermon so that I can handle this end of things, the technological side, and set up the Zoom and chat with people and get people up and running if they need help on Sunday. So I'm actually going to be recording the sermon here in a few minutes. So cool. All right.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Great.
Yep.
Bye.
All right, everyone. Have a great day.
See ya. You too. Thanks.